So this is my first segment of On the Daily. On the Daily is going to be something that I do every week, once a week, just kind of talking about stuff that's like in the news or on social media that doesn't warrant a full video. As much as I love reality TV, sometimes I get burnt out on reality TV, especially when it's the same themes over and over again. And I love examining human behavior, but when it's the same human behavior and it's almost predictable that you can write it yourself, sometimes I get burnt out on it. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to give it up, because it is my pleasure. I won't even say my guilty pleasure. It's something that I enjoy doing. So I am going to continue to watch my shows. Right now I am reading 3 books. I'm reading Britney Spears, The Woman in Me. I'm reading Jada Pinkett Smith, Worthy. And I need to stop saying I'm reading. I'm listening to on Audible. And I'm listening to on Audible the first 2 books, but I'm actually reading the Almanack of Naval Ravikant by Eric Jorgensen. And that's a guide to wealth and happiness. And so I had to correct myself, because as much as I enjoy reading, it's just not enough time in the day. So I like to multitask when I am taking a bath, when I am cooking, when I'm in the car. I like to listen to books. So those are the 2 books that I have going now. I'm doing Britney Spears because Britney means a lot to pop culture. I can remember the first time seeing Baby One More Time on MTV, and how the video just kind of took over MTV. Like, even if you didn't like the song when it first came out, they were going to force you to like Britney and her song, because that song played on repeat. I actually love Britney Spears' music, and I loved her as a performer. So I'm listening to her book because I want to know Britney's story. And so the book is 49 chapters. I have listened to 10 of the chapters. And before getting too deep into the book, I can already deduce that Britney just was not protected. Like, she, when you get to the pinnacle of your career, you have got to have realness around you. And I just don't think Britney had that protection in the way that she needed it. She needed realness around her, and she needed people around her that weren't trying to take advantage of her money. So I look forward to continuing listening to that. And I'm actually going to review it. And I think I'm going to do 10 chapters at a time, because it's 49 chapters. So I think I'm going to do 10 chapters at a time. Worthy. I'm listening to Worthy because I do want to know the story that Jada is telling the world in detail. I'm not on the Jada train of, oh, Jada shouldn't be speaking out. Jada shouldn't be writing her own book. I believe everybody should have the right to tell their story, whatever that looks like. But I also believe that when you tell your story, you are opening yourself up to public scrutiny. So whatever comes of that, comes of that. I know that Jada got upset with the parody that was done on Saturday Night Live. Why? Saturday Night Live, is all about comedy and poking fun. So you just kind of have to roll with the punches. Like, I think Jada is getting this thing mixed up because she's thinking that the audience that is consuming these interviews that she's doing or that are reading her book, that these are all fans of, say, Red Table Talk or her career. That's probably farthest from the truth. She probably has more pessimists than anything else that are actually talking about her book. But I want to hear what she has to say. I'm not of the belief that Will is 100% absolved of any wrongdoing. I think whenever 2 people have a marriage, that the ultimate demise of the marriage lies somewhere in between both parties. And so I just want to hear her story that she's telling to kind of understand her as a person. So, but I noticed that I keep turning her book on and then turning it off. Not because it's not entertaining, because it is, but it is long. Hers is long. I think Britney's is about 5.5 hours to listen to, whereas Jada's is like over 14 hours. So I'm like, Lord, Jada, what? You're telling an awful lot. So I've got that going. And then the I'm actually, like I said, I'm actually physically reading the Almanack of Naval Ravikant because it's about, just bettering your life from a financial point of view, just overall happiness. So that's something that speaks to the nerd that's inside of me. And I always like self-care and self-help type of books. So, okay, so what else? Jeezy and Jeannie Mai. I know that this is more or less water under the bridge. I do believe that we'll hear a little bit more when it comes down to Jeezy and Jeannie discussing, the terms of their divorce. I don't know, for some reason, I just don't think that it's over. But my viewpoint on Jeannie and Jeezy is that sometimes when you're having fun, you just need to leave it there. I think Jeannie was captivated by the fact that she had a hip hop artist that was showing interest and into her. And I think for Jeezy, I think Jeannie was his exotic preference, and she was also someone that was a go-getter. And I think he had this image in his head of them kind of being a power couple. I think both of them had that in their head, but I think they didn't take enough time to really get to know each other on a level that they needed to in order to realize, okay, maybe we're not cut out to spend the rest of our lives together. Some people have said that it has to do with Jeannie's mom and her brother living with her. That alone, if that had anything to do with it, that alone can wreck a marriage, especially if the other party doesn't come from that. Like, if that's Jeannie's culture, then that's okay, but that would be something that needed to be discussed ahead of time, and not like a quick, hey, mom's gonna stay with us for a little while type of conversation. That needs to be these are my beliefs about parents living with us, and that would have given him the chance to say, hey, I don't even like people over to the house. Like, I don't even like my own family over to the house, let alone somebody staying with us. So if that was a part of it, that needed to be discussed. I also feel like that there was a part of Jeannie that felt like, because she was Jeezy's preference, there was a lot of things that she could possibly get away with that maybe someone that wasn't his preference couldn't. I don't think that she knew just how vocal Jeezy was, because, Jeezy seems quiet, like he doesn't really say much, and that's the mystique that a lot of women fall for. But when you get into a relationship with a person like that, you need to understand that it's not that easy. Jeannie talked about having a hot temper, and with somebody like Jeezy, who it doesn't take much for him to leave a relationship, just given the relationships he's had in the past, I knew her mouth wasn't going to work. It just wasn't going to work for him. And then you also got to look at what he shared with the world in terms of his book. Like, he's had trauma to the point of his mom, pulling a gun on him. So when you think about that, I was surprised that he shared that story, and it was wonderful that he was able to be transparent. But when you think about somebody that has gone through something traumatic, like their mother pulling a gun on them, therapy will help, but it would take a lot to erase that memory and to not look at women to a certain degree as being an enemy. Because, there's no bigger nurturer than your mom. So the fact that his mom did that, that would kind of make me leery about any type of relationships with him, just because anything could trigger a woman talking slick to him, could trigger an emotion in him that he's not ready to deal with. And also, beyond that, Jeannie loves social media. I think when Jeezy looked at Jeannie, he loved her ambition, but he probably didn't know that every aspect of their life was probably going to be captured on video. Things are cute until they're not. Not to beat a dead horse, but even the comments that Jeannie made on the reel, like to be able to outrun those comments about, she likes her dark meat on the side. As a man, you knew that those comments at some point were going to be a problem. What I will say to Jeannie is that it's the fact that I'm glad that he ripped the Band-Aid off And she had only been in the relationship for 2 years as opposed to being in a relationship for 15, 20 years where who she is as a person would no longer be. So I guess good for her that she was able to move on, and good for him that he was able to find solace in his decision and move on as well. But so many people just cannot stick to marriage. And when you have money at your disposal, there is no, okay, we're going to work it out. A lot of people work out their marital issues just because they're, they don't have the extra money to go get a divorce attorney and file for divorce. It could be something as simple as that. So a lot of women stay in situations because, it's hard to figure out what your next move is going to be, where you're going to stay, all of that crap. So a lot of people stay for various reasons. But when you have money that's at your disposal, if something ain't right, you may go see your divorce attorney the next day and just be like, I want out. And I feel like that's kind of what Jeezy did. I think Jeannie may have done a couple of things that he was like, no, I'm good. And he went and filed for divorce. But that's Jeannie and Jeezy. I'm excited about the new Married to Medicine season that's coming on. I am going to watch. I did see a story where Quad was complaining that her ex-husband, Dr. G, and his new wife were going to be on the show. And she felt like the producers should have considered her feelings regarding him, being on the show. I don't agree with Quad. And the reason is because I think when you sign up for these reality TV shows, you're signing up to put your life on display. And when she and Dr. G came onto the show, Dr. G was the doctor. Even though Married to Medicine highlights the women, Dr. G was the actual doctor. Now, I know that they had, points in their marriage that were tumultuous, but I think the fact that they did the reunion together and she was able to share a stage with him lets me know that she's not in danger being around him. Being around him may make her uncomfortable, but her life is not threatened in any type of way. And I think when you start having the castmates to be the producers is when the show starts to plummet. I feel that way even regarding the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And just knowing that the season that, all of the fans were kind of left hanging with, the season where the stuff came out with Kandi and Phaedra, and Phaedra getting kicked off and never returning, it kind of just left the fans like, this feels weird because it seems like this is no longer reality. This is more scripted than anything else. And I just feel like that was the beginning of the end of Real Housewives of Atlanta. At least for me, it was, and a lot of people that I know. I tried to go back after that and watch. I think I watched maybe one or two more seasons. I liked the season where Tanya was on there. But after that, I just couldn't watch anymore because it just seemed forced. And so I don't like it when the castmates are given the opportunity to decide who they're going to film with, because at the end of the day, that's what you're kind of getting paid the big bucks for. You're putting yourself out there, but you are getting compensated pretty well to do that. I'm glad that Married to Medicine made the decision to bring Dr. G and his wife. No, I think it'll make for good TV, because at the end of the day, this is what this is all about. It's just about entertainment. And so finally, I'm debating on reviewing Worthy or not, just because I keep starting and stopping it. But I have my own viewpoint on Will and Jada's marriage. I think more often than not, when people start dating each other and they start getting serious enough to the point where they're going to marry, there's something that they're both seeking. And without having listened to the entire book of Worthy, I'm just on chapter 3, but they are long chapters. Without having listened to the entire thing, my takeaway from their entire relationship is this. Jada at the time, she's not a struggling actress, but she's not an A-list actress by far. At the time, Jada had done a couple of movies. Of course, she did Different World, in which we all love Lena James. But here you have a mega superstar that's in your field that calls you up and asks you, are you seeing someone? And you say no. And then he's just like, well, you're seeing me now. First of all, it's something intriguing about that, because let's be clear that Jada, as well as Tupac, thought that Will Smith was lame. That's just, that's just what it was. But here you have this lame dude that's calling you, and he wants to be with you. I don't know too many people that would turn a date down with Will Smith if they are a B or C list actress. I just don't know anybody that would turn that down. So of course, she started to date him. But Will's not off the hook. With all of the stories that Will has released himself about his family, Will dealt with a lot of trauma as a kid. And one of the things that Will has not been able to do is be 100% himself. That's why, Will exudes toxic positivity. He's always just in front of the cameras. He's happy to the point of it hurting. Like whenever you see him smiling, he just looks like it's forced. And so here you see this girl who just does what she wants to do. She's adventurous. She's independent. She's gorgeous. Will, in my opinion, was an energy vampire to some degree. He wanted Jada's energy because how free she was able to be herself. He knew that he didn't have that. So they both wanted something from each other. So some people argue, well, but she used him for money. Well, I feel like they use each other. And whenever you enter into a relationship, there's something that is intriguing that you may want from the other person. And there's something that the other person may want from you. It can be tangible or intangible, but there is a reason why you're there. A lot of times when women get with who they think are the lame guys, and when I say Will is lame, not that he really is lame, but that's just the way that she looked at him. Will is, very successful, very handsome, but he was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He wasn't like, hip hop, thugged out, because a lot of women are attracted to that. They like the bad boy. He wasn't any of those things in front of the camera. So, to her, in his own way, he was a little lame. But sometimes it's the lame guys or the quiet guys that can hurt you the most, because they're unsuspecting. And I feel like Jada entered a point with Will to where he had showered her with gifts and opportunities to the point where she felt indebted to him. And so when he would do some slick stuff, it's almost like she's second guessing herself. Like, no, he wouldn't do that to me. It's like an ego trip. Like, no, he can't. He's not doing that to me. Like, he's the nice guy. How is he doing that to me? But sometimes those can be the ones that take you through hell. And I'm not saying that Will was just horrible, but I think for a girl like Jada, he convinced her of all of the things that she said that she didn't want. It's documented that he said, as well as her mom, as well as she said, that she did not want to get married. But you have her mom who is just like, I don't want my baby to struggle. I think this is a good decision for her. I think Will's a good guy. He's a good guy for her. I think she should marry him. Jada didn't want to get married. Will said Jada didn't want to get married. Jada wasn't ready to have kids right away. So all of these things that made her this adventurous and independent and, wanting to take the world by storm, all these things that made her that was slowly being taken away from her. There was a lot of things behind the scenes that I feel happened to her that people would be completely surprised by. And so people ask the question, why does she feel like she has to do these interviews? Why does she feel like she has to do the book? Why does she feel like she has to tell all of their business? Well, I'm with you on that. But I also know that when you feel like you've been humiliated in front of the world, and the world looks at your spouse like they're the innocent one and that you're the villain, then it's almost like you got to make the correction in front of the world, because that's where you feel like you were humiliated. Not saying that it's right for her to think that way, but I just feel like this could not be handled behind closed doors. This is a part of her healing. She has to put everything out there because that's where she feels like her reputation was tainted. So I just think at this juncture, with her having written the book, I just hope that she's gotten it all out of her system and just kind of let it go. But I did see a video of Will recently, and it was Will and Jada on the stage and the kids were there. And Will was talking about, do you have the ability to love somebody no matter what? In theory, that's a nice gesture. But the more he kept talking, he said, even if you don't agree with a lot of the things that they do. To me, that's like a backhanded compliment. Because if this is what you've decided to do, which is to stand by your wife wholeheartedly. But it's a backhanded compliment when you say, even if you don't agree with the things that they do, because it still makes her look like she's the villain. And so I just feel like there's a part of Will that wants to pretend like he's okay putting his life out there. And even he wrote a book, but I think he told us everything he wanted us to know. But he knew that there was a point where he was going to cut it off. But Jada is just not, she's not like that. And I watched some old interviews of the two of them, and you could just see it before your eyes, the dismantling of their relationship. I saw them on Oprah, and I think it was from 2010. And Jada was just like, like really happy and giddy, but it seemed forced. Like it almost seemed like something was going on with her. But, she was just talking. And Will was sitting next to her. The three of the kids were just kind of looking miserable a little bit. But Will was sitting next to her. And, this was during the time that both of them started to feel like they were relationship experts. And Jada was saying what she needed to say. But then it's almost like Will wanted the attention back. So then he had to up what she was saying. And so they were doing this dance. And Oprah was siding with Jada. So then that kind of made Will look like he was being ridiculed, and he didn't like that. So it's just points. It's just things that they've done that just seem toxic overall. But if they're in a place now where they've worked through all the kinks and they're going to be with each other for the rest of their lives, then, best of luck to them. That's pretty much all that I can say. But like I said, I'm still debating on whether or not I'm going to review the book, because I just keep turning it on and then turning it off. So we'll see about that. But Britney, I'm definitely doing that one.